And we're live on a Sunday. Well, we'll see what happens. We got nobody in there yet, but I had some time on a Sunday. Got my Bro Witch shirt on. Been loving my Bro Witch shirt so much, I just keep washing it and wearing it, washing it and wearing it. Good thing water's included where I live. Wow. Oh, that's some hair right there. All right, there we go. Well, I guess with people on the recording will get to see me fuck with my hair, but I don't see a whole lot of people. Hello, there's a couple people in here. So, I'm doing my Sunday thing. Got 5 people in here already. Uncle Birch doing his Sunday thing. Caught up on all the work I have to do today. Chilling on the veranda. The tower, if you will. Overlooking. Hello, you in Hollywood too? Somebody I just saw said happy or hello from Hollywood. Yeah, well, here we are in the Witterson's Tower, overlooking downtown Hollywood. I could hit Trump's star with a slingshot from here. And I'm not saying I haven't tried. But I got some time. I have stepped away a little bit from teaching on YouTube for free because I think I've done that. I've done a lot of that. I did a lot of that before anybody was doing that, and I've been teaching a very long time. So I did 20 years for free, including YouTube, before I ever outright charged for a class. So nowadays, I charge for my teachings. I have enough free teachings out there on YouTube to keep you going a long time. So I don't see that as a problem. But I spent a lot more of my time teaching on my Gumroad site, the places where I make a living. Because this is my living. This is what I do for a living. Witchcraft is my job. It's my business. Business is good. I'm still I'm still playing catch up. I'm about a month behind on orders still, but it does take a month to do my average order anyways, because if I have to brew something, I'm brewing it during a moon cycle, planetary cycle, that kind of thing. Typically it takes a month anyways, but so I'm sitting here with some time off on Sunday, up on the veranda. Hello, Steven. Hello, Steven. I still don't know who that person said hello from Hollywood. I don't know if they're in Hollywood too. Gabby, I hope everything turns out okay at the Pagan Pride Festival. I was going to go. I haven't gone. I was going to go. She asked if I went to the Pagan Pride Festival today. I don't know. Had a feeling not to. Antonio. Hello, Antonio. I don't know where you are. That's the Capitol Records building right there. Wait, here. Can you see that? Okay. Yeah, those of you that are on my Facebook saw that I got some really incredible... oh, yeah. All right, Antonio. Maybe we'll meet up one of these days. I just met Seamus recently, local from my town. But, yeah, if you're on my Facebook, Michael Carell, I think I posted it on Birch Tree as well. I caught some incredible lightning shots over the Tower Records building a couple nights ago on my phone. The iPhone 8 has this live photo feature, and it seems like, hello, Dover, Tennessee, Amy. It has this thing, it's weird. It's like when I press the button and it takes a picture before I press the button. So I was able to catch some incredible lightning shots. So if you're on my Facebook page, or get on my Facebook page, either Michael Carell, or you can find me at, I think my other page is Uncle Birch now. I changed it. It used to say Birch Tree. But you can see some of the shots I caught right over the Capitol Records building. And I caught one shot where it looks like the Capitol Records building is lighting up, the clouds and lightning's coming off it. I'm hoping to sell that to the Capitol Records building for a buttload of money. But that's not why I'm here. I'm just figured I should talk for a bit to get enough people in here. I got 20 people in here right away. So I was figuring since I'm here on a Sunday and I got some time, and this is what I do, and I get a lot of people whenever I go live, why not do something like this? Ask Uncle Birch. I'm not driving for a change doing these live videos, so I'm open to almost any question somebody wants to ask. Let's see. Is there a way to find one's life direction, passion, motivation? Oh, wow. Well, that's not an easy fix, is it? It takes, when you find your life's path, it will be when you looked backwards and you'd been on it for a while. I gave up on, I've been many things. I have a long history in corporate security, a shorter history in law enforcement, worked in restaurants, bars, all kinds of those kind of jobs too, but always witchcraft. Witchcraft was in the background. And recently, probably in the last 10 years or so, I discovered, hey, whoa, wait a minute. You ended up being a witch for a living. It was kind of snuck up on me. I was always, I was at a shop, but I sometimes worked an extra job to pay for the shop. I worked an extra job to keep the shop alive for a long time. And I guess it's been about 3 years or so now. I was never the math person. When I opened my shop, we were a worker-owned collective, and we broke everything down by elements. Each person's elemental sign designated their position in the organization. Now I am a Cancer, triple Cancer, all moon signs, everything like that. Money was not my job at the shop until, as time went on, these were all younger people, and they went on to other things that were maybe their life path. I was already pursuing my life path, and had always been leaning towards witchcraft. I'd always been doing witchcraft or something in the back, and eventually one day the entire shop became mine. Everybody had left. Everybody had signed over their stock, so some other asshole in the company couldn't get it, and I ended up being the sole owner of the Sacred Grove. But I had not done the math much, and when I finally did the math about maybe 4 years ago now, I realized that I had been making my living off of the internet. My web store, my teachings, making a decent living, and sinking most of that money into keeping my shop open in a very small pond, Santa Cruz in this little bubble. I found that I was operating in an ocean and trying to exist in a small pond. And not a capitalist by trade, not a businessman by trade, but right away I saw that was a very stupid policy, and I could not continue that. I closed my store within a month of discovering that. Moved away from Santa Cruz, went on the road, eventually ended up here in Hollywood. No inkling to open a brick and mortar at all. If somebody wanted to foot the bill for that fucking thing, maybe I'd go in as a partner. But I have no inkling for that. I spent a lot of time in a small pond in Santa Cruz. And I don't operate in a small pond. I was involved in bickering and witch wars and stupid shit in this small pond when the small pond had nothing to do with me. I'm in the ocean, bitches. I'm in the ocean, bitches. I have no inkling. It was how I was brought up. It was kind of the thing you were supposed to do a long time ago. But it was the way when I was growing up. So I did that. Working on writing a book, CDC 93. I am working on writing a book. I'm going to submit my my first book, whatever you call it. There's a new publishing group out there called Warlock Press by Christian Day. And people can say what they want to about Christian Day, and I'll agree with some of it. What I like about Christian Day is the things that most people don't like about him in the first place. I'm going to try and sign with them first They will be my first book submission. I'm planning on doing that within this month. And the book is going to be The Magical Art of Warfare, based on The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and other books. But definitely not, I never want to write a book that somebody else wrote. Nobody's doing that kind of shit. I know that kind of shit. It's some of my biggest selling classes. That will be my first book. I'm going to be submitting that to Warlock Press hopefully pretty damn soon, because I'm teaching at Hex Fest this next year. And Hex Fest is also done by Christian Day, and it would behoove me to have a book deal in the works, if they accept it. But it would behoove me to have that rolling by the time I get there, right? Now, real quick, I got a lot of stuff popping up there, and you may have to ask Uncle Birch a couple times before I see the question. But way back in the thing was somebody asked, best way of cleansing a house. And so Uncle Birch will remind you that the reason that I started my YouTube channel in the first place is because I owned a witch store, and I spent most of my days talking people through spells, talking people through common magical acts, and the most common are, protection, cleansing, money, love, revenge. These 5 things are the most common things to come up in a witch store every fucking day. And the advice I would give would be the same every time. And somebody suggested this YouTube channel, and originally for me, before teaching on YouTube, my purpose for teaching on YouTube was to do classes based on those things that come up every fucking day. And then after I already told somebody in my shop exactly what to fucking do, they took notes, left my shop, called me later on the phone, having forgotten their notes, which happened every fucking day. I could then just direct them, go to my YouTube channel and watch this. So whoever asked that thing, best method for cleansing the house, go to my channel and watch the video Cleansing with Fire and Air. Cleansing with fire and air, most common thing. Cleansing with salt and water goes along with it. But yes, I do get asked about Crowley a million times. God damn, I missed who that was. I do get asked about Crowley a lot. And you can tell right there, I said Crowley. Those who think him holy call him Crowley. Those who think him Fowley call him Crowley. I don't know what Ozzy was thinking. But he did Mr. Crowley. But yes, Crowley was an interesting character. Crowley was an interesting character, responsible for a great amount of the magic that we have to this day, even though people don't want to admit it. Gerald Gardner borrowed very liberally from Crowley and worked side by side with Crowley to develop his system. The original Gerald Gardner's Book of Shadows was leaked to the internet about 2001. Was leaked on the internet. We had a person in my shop whose job was to peruse the internet looking for obscure occult files and printing them up before they disappeared so we could put them in our reference library. So for years, I had a copy of Gerald Gardner's actual Book of Shadows. In recent years, the last 2 years or so, they have released a book called Gerald Gardner's Book of Shadows. I'm sorry, it looks nothing like the Book of Shadows I saw, and I'm gonna call it bullshit. It doesn't look like a Book of Shadows at all. The Book of Shadows, it was leaked to the internet in 2001, allegedly attributed to Gerald Gardner, looked like a Book of Shadows. It had notes in the sidelines. It had it attributed things, it credited sources for different things. It had things crossed out, things rewritten. This is a Book of Shadows. This other thing, the thing that they published as Gardner's Book of Shadows, nothing like what I saw. I believe what I saw because somebody worked really hard to remove that from the internet within a year's time. So that thing existed on the internet about 2001. We printed up a copy, stuck it in the reference library. It disappeared. Can't say that I've kept those files over years. I've moved too many times, lost too many things, don't have it, but I got the witch brain. This pisses a lot of people off on a lot of the noob sites I'm on. Sometimes, I will oft say a thing that most people haven't heard in a long time. Like, I have a video, when you banish, you must invoke. People freak out about that video. I've never heard anything like that. When you banish, you must. Well, that was an old craft standard as when I was a kid. It clearly is indicated in the laws of physics. Nature abhors a vacuum, and if you don't invoke after you banish, nature will put back what you banished. It's a no fucking brainer, but when I say that on some noob site, they challenge me for my sources. I have to find a book that says that. Yeah, good luck finding a fucking book that says that. I'm sorry. Been at Witch a long time. I got a long memory. I've read books that are out of print. I remember it all. Sometimes I can't remember which book I fucking read it in, but when it comes to witchcraft, I remember it all. I will oft, if you don't know me, I will oft speak things that you have not heard elsewhere. That's my job. I don't like to repeat things that everybody else said. That's not my job. I got the long memory. I remember craft that most of your teachers and elders forgot. Sorry, I'm a lot older than I look. And witchcraft has been my passion the entire time. So I'm going to remember shit you don't like. So you challenge me for my sources. Hey, guess what? It's probably not in fucking print, but find a way to, to thwart me, out-argue me. Don't just kick me off your noob page. That's usually what happens. I get kicked off of fucking noob pages all the fucking time. But I don't care. I think a lot of people's elders are full of crap and taught us a bunch of bullshit. Watch my new series, Witchcraft Without Wicca. It's all about that. We were taught a lot of bullshit by our elders. Let's see. Hey, seem like a good person, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm looking to see if I see another question. So I've answered a couple of the questions that I saw. The thing is, ask Uncle Birch, but I only get a couple seconds to see it. And if you ask something right after somebody else asks something that I don't know, are you descended from witches or whatever you want to call it? I don't know. I have an uncle who's in the CIA, and when he retired from the CIA as an analyst, he got really into Ancestry.com, researched my whole family tree. I got my DNA done. It wasn't the best DNA test. They have better ones now. But now they've redone the algorithm, and I went back and looked at my old DNA test, and I thought there was two places I wasn't from. Latin America and Asia. No, I'm from there too. There's not a continent on this earth that I do not have DNA from, according to my fucking DNA test. I'm a mutt, so I will not listen to any bullshit about cultural appropriation. When I appropriate a culture, I do it with respect, I do it with honor, and I research the traditions that I'm appropriating. Yeah. But yeah, blood magic. Blood magic is powerful, isn't it? Yes, it is. It depends on how you use the blood magic. If you look at one of my videos, and if you see any variation on this, if you see anybody on the internet taking a lodestone, putting 3 drops of blood on the lodestone, planting it in the earth to get a house, me, bitches, and I don't care if they don't give me credit. That's mine. It's my variation on a spell I was given by mom, Judith Dufresne, my witch mom, and we were taught to make the spells better, make them more creative, put more into them, and yeah, so that's one kind of blood magic. Sacrificing my own blood for many different rituals. Yes, I've done that. Blood magic's very powerful. It's extremely connected to you. I've often said women can do the housing ritual better because the blood that they expend during their monthly cycle contains more iron than the regular blood, and lodestones attract iron. Got in a big argument once with a Susan Diamond, a fucking twit out there that I don't bring up very often. But, she had a thing that lodestones attract and repel. No, you see, I've been a witch for a very long time, and the reason we use lodestones instead of magnets is magnets have a polarity. They attract and they repel, depending on which, position you have the magnets in. Lodestones do not do that. Lodestones are attracted to iron. Lodestones are magnets attracted to iron. The first compass we had was created by a lodestone. The reason we use lodestones in witchcraft, it is not a magnet. It does not have a polarity. It only attracts. And I argued and argued and argued, and nobody ever found any reason why that's true. But apparently there are some hoodoo schools, allegedly, trafficked by Susan Diamond, that believe that a lodestone does both. And no, that's a magnet. It's a magnet. It's a magnet. It's a magnet. It's a magnet. Not buying that. God, I've already been on for 20 minutes. Look at that shit. No, I don't know anything about the 7 worlds of the Mount Sibiru, somebody said. But, sounds Sumerian. Now, those of you that don't know, the Sumerian civilization is one of the oldest civilizations on Earth. Older than Egypt, which is one of the oldest we can point to. The Sumerian civilization had a very different view on some of the old gods. The old gods were believed to have enslaved humanity to mine gold for the Sumerian gods. The Sumerians, if this has anything to do with your question, but it's typically where I'm going to go. The Sumerians had a unique knowledge about every planet in our solar system, every moon around the planet, everything about it. The Sumerians knew that, and everything that the Sumerians said turned out to be true. The one hinge point that people hung up on and tried to discount the Sumerian knowledge was that they said that there was water on the moon. And just about 3 years ago or so, India went to the moon. Nobody goes to the moon anymore. So India went. Nobody even knew India had a space program. They landed near the pole, a different place than anybody's ever landed on the moon. And guess what? They found frozen water, ice, at the poles of the moon. The last piece of the Sumerian mythos. The Sumerians believed we came from another planet. They have a very complex mythos about that, but they had intrinsic knowledge of our solar system that science only continues to prove. They keep proving it over and over and over again. One of the how can you get a lodestone to watch a house? Look at my video on this channel, spell to get home, and you'll see. The Sumerians, though, one of the things was one of the moons of Jupiter had a frozen ocean. Well, guess what? We just found that out about 2 years ago. One of our probes just fucking found that. There's nothing the Sumerians said about our solar system that has not turned out to be true. Now, that's fascinating. But if you actually study the Sumerian mythos, their creation tale is rather fascinating, because they talk about a flaming pinball game of planets in our pre-solar system, bouncing off each other, destroying each other, slamming into each other, crashing into each other, creating moons, all this kind of shit. The fascinating point of the story is that the Sumerians could not have been on any of the planets of the solar system and witnessed this happening, because all of the planets they talked about were in chaos. Were volcanic masses and shit slamming into each other. Nothing had an orbit yet. Sumerians told that story. Where were they to witness it happen? They were not on Earth, they were not on Mars, they were not on any of these planets. The Sumerians tell a fascinating tale of the early formations of our solar system about a planet called Cain that was on an elliptical orbit that swung into our solar system and destroyed another planet called Abel and turned Abel into an asteroid belt. All of the stories in the Bible were told by previous cultures. There is nothing original in the Bible. All of those stories. The story of Cain slaying his brother Abel was first told as a story between two planets. Now, I say different things about the Bible than most people. I say, it needs to be read differently. It needs to be read in metaphor. The Bible is a metaphorical calendar of a bunch of other shit that happened. Most of the characters in the Bible were planets, stars, heavenly bodies. You put the Bible back into the context of stars, planets, and heavenly bodies, and some of that shit makes sense. Matter of fact, it's the only way the Bible fucking makes sense. The process church is interesting, Blood Raven says, but I don't know what that is. Somebody on Facebook is asking when my birthday is. I'm sure it says it right on my Facebook page. Jesus Christ. All right, let's see. There were other questions. There were questions about a servitor. I think I have a video about making servitors. You know what? I got a video called Meet the New Gods. It goes beyond servitors, egregores. Egregores are servitors for more than one person. I check out that video. But you're not just here to go be directed to other videos. I'll tell you one. One of the servitors that I know the best, that most people know the best, is a servitor called Squat. Here living in Hollywood, I found myself using Squat quite a lot because parking's a bitch. And Squat's original purpose was a god of parking created by Isaac Bonowitz and his coven in Berkeley in the late 80s. A god, a servitor, an egregore created to become a god based on the worship that people would give it. I saw Squat stretch across the country, and years later I saw the witches and enchantments in New York, and they had Squat as a parking deity, and they had developed this thing as squat, find me a spot, squat, find me a spot. It was like Rochambeau, not in the original programming of Squat. The original sacraments to Squat were putting coins in expired parking meters for people so they didn't get tickets. Squat excelled its program. Squat later returns about a decade later in a book called Urban Primitive, where they have a triple pantheon of gods and a triple pantheon of goddesses for urban purposes. Gods that we would really know as egregores that broke out of their program. And one of those gods featured in the book was Squat. However, by the time Squat reaches Urban Primitive, Squat is a goddess. Squat transgendered himself. Squat had that power. And in that book, Squat had gone beyond just parking and had become a goddess of parking your ass. So you want to do that housing spell that we were just talking about. Do that housing spell and appeal to the goddess Squat, who has become also a housing goddess. And it'll be much better. How do you retain all these shit? I don't know what I retain, but how do I retain all that? Whoever asked that question, I've worked really hard on destroying my short-term memory for a very long time, but I use rosemary for my long-term memory. When it comes to witchcraft or magic, I not just toot my own horn. I have this memory that goes beyond what the average person's ever going to remember, because that's been my guiding passion. Witchcraft. It just so happened I ended up doing that job. That ended up being my job. The universe worked perfectly on that one. I don't know how the fuck I would have done anything. I mean, I've done plenty of other things and been a witch, but it turned out That would be my job. In addition to what I'm doing right here, I'm teaching witchcraft somewhere else right now. I'm doing it when I sleep. I'm doing it when I take a shit. Constantly teaching witchcraft and making stuff for witchcraft and talking about witchcraft. And here I am on a Sunday talking about witchcraft more. It's fucking goddess be praised. It just worked out for me and fell into that way. But oft times, I will be on something like for two and a half years. I was the co-host on Candelo's Corner, which is primarily a show directed with Paulo, ATRs, hoodoo, that kind of thing. And I was like the resident European witch on there, even though I am a Polero, I'm a Tata, Impalo, ATR. I do study and practice hoodoo as well. But my primary focus has always been European witchcraft. And one day somebody asked me on the show, how do you make holy water? And I'm like, oh, well, and I blurted out all this fucking shit. And as soon as I said that, there's like part of my mind is going, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? You haven't been Catholic in forever. How do you know about fucking, what are you saying? Oh my God, this is a fucking podcast. People are going to rip you apart. They're going to, tear apart what you just said. Oh, hold on. Let's Google this shit. And sure enough, my method for making holy water was derived from my craft practices, which go all the way back into Gardnerian and everything else. 3 pinches of water, 3 blows onto or 3 pinches of salt into the water. Wait, 3 breaths onto the salt, 3 pinches of salt into the water, 3 breaths into the water, and then the words, the cleansing of all hindrances of the world of phantasm and all that stuff that have been brought up, as a witch and Gardnerian. Well, it turns out that is the method derived for making holy water, the thing all of the Wiccans are doing post-Gardner, the thing we're doing with our salt water that we're going to sprinkle around the ritual space is the actual method for creating holy water that came from the Keys of Solomon that is used in the Catholic Church to this day. So sometimes I freak myself. Sometimes I find myself saying shit that I don't know that I know, or don't know where I know it, or from whence I know it. And when I find that, I check myself after I already said it, after it's out on the internet, after it's fucking out on a fucking podcast, and I double check myself. It's like, oh, well, yeah, you're fucking right. So I'm a one-trick pony, really. I got some other tricks, but when it comes to fucking witchcraft, that's just my thing. I got a long memory, and I've been in witchcraft since before Wicca was the dominating force. I remember going to the supermarket, and there was a little booklets you could get in the supermarket back in my day. It was like, it was called White Witchcraft. White Witchcraft. There was a book, my beginning class was helping yourself with white witchcraft, and, God, I forget. See, all right, so I don't retain everything. But I had that book just a minute ago when I taught it on another class. Mastering Witchcraft. Mastering Witchcraft had nothing Wiccan whatsoever. Helping Yourself with White Witchcraft had things that would become very Wiccan later. Wicca existed. Wicca was a big force. Wicca was not the dominant force in America yet. In the early 80s, it was not. White witchcraft, which is very racist, and if you look at the people that call themselves white witchcraft, it was very, very racist. God, I'm ranting so much on one question, but I see people are asking me other questions. The problem is with this live thing, they just kind of go away. So I'm looking. You want to ask me a question right now? Go ahead, ask me a question. If you already asked me a question, I probably didn't see it. I only have a couple seconds to see it before it fades on. I'm going to turn the label around because Lagunitas is not paying me. Hey, hi, Winter Willow. Still not a question, but I retain, when it comes to witchcraft, when it comes to magic, I retain more than most people. Can you interpret dreams? No, no, I cannot. If you take one of my classes, I have my entire first level witchcraft class up at gumroad.com/witch school, WITCHSKEWL. I have my advanced class there too, and then I have the new class that I'm teaching as we speak called Witchcraft Without Wicca. Because there is some elements in my original craft, that are related to Wicca, because Wicca was the dominant force. Most people absorbed that into them. Blah, 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 blah. Is my story? Wait, I'll answer that in a second. Let me see. So listen, here's the thing. Witchcraft has a huge foot in psychology, and psychology comes from two main sources: Freud and Jung. Freud, everything was a symbolically sexual act, and everything was sexual, and that is very much expressed in paganism. The maypole being God's penis that we dance around cannot be overlooked for that. But Jung approached psychology through mysticism. He was trying to reach a state of gnosis that he knew these monks, these Tibetan monks, to possess this state of gnosis, and he was trying to develop a psychological way to reach gnosis, and this is how we came up with hypnosis, because Jung approached psychology through mysticism. So Jung came up with two main things: that there's a universal symbol set that every human being on the planet subconsciously knows the meaning of when they see it. Everything, the circle, the square, the triangle, many other symbols are universal symbols that the entire species associates with the same thing, even though they don't really know about it. It's all subconscious. The other set is a personal symbol set derived from your life's experiences. Your dreams are speaking very important things to you in a language derived from your subconscious and your life experiences, sometimes intermingled with these universal symbols that Jung talked about. However, the dream journals that you will go out there and get will only hit on some of these universal concepts, and so sometimes you'll be able to interpret your dreams through those things, and sometimes you won't. Most times you won't, because only you are ever going to be able to figure out the language that your personal subconscious is speaking. In my classes, one of the first things in the first class that we teach people to do is start a dream journal. Start trying to write down your dreams. I say trying because the first few attempts, your dreams will fall apart as you try to write them down. It's very typical, very common. But you try. Now, up here in your subconscious is your witch mind. It's where all of your magic comes from. The subconscious triggers up here are what cause your mind to send out this power that causes change in accordance with will, because you're not fully tapped into that, but you can send triggers over to that to make this shit happen. This is half of the symbols that we're using in magic. This is sigils. This is fucking everything. But your subconscious is speaking to you in this language and hoping that you're eventually going to get it. And when it sees you attempting to get it, it goes, oh, look, they're finally trying to figure out what we're fucking trying, what we've been telling them all this time. Okay, let's help. We will help them figure out this dream journal thing. And the longer you do the dream journal thing, the more language will the first couple things you write are gonna sound like gibberish. And then slowly they start to sound like sentences. And then slowly they start to sound like paragraphs. And slowly you can look back. Hopefully you do it long enough and decipher a language, your personal language with your subconscious. And if you can do that, you can write back to it. And that's a huge fucking magic. Kick your ass. Oh, damn. I was trying to look at that question. It faded. Whoever just asked a question. I saw a couple questions. That was the question on interpreting dreams. What you got? What you got? Come on, bring it, bring it. Can you talk more about the will? The will. Well, the will's more than want. The will is more than think. The will is something your mind projects into the world to make stuff happen. You know, you can will to go out and get that job tomorrow. I can't read that right now. There's a lot of stuff. The will, yeah, the will's a projection of your intent upon the universe. It's the best I'm going to be able to spew that out. But it's bigger than just a thought. It's bigger than a whim. It's an organized thought, a seed, if you will, in magic that we're going to throw out there to take root and grow and become something. Will. Damn good question. Huge answer. I will not give you all the answers. You know that, right? Even if I know them, I'm not going to give you all the answers. CDC 93 said manifest. Manifest. Well. Mind and magic? Well, is there a divergence of the ideas between you and mind and magic? Well, Frater X has been a friend of mine for a long time, and he's taken some of my courses, and I, under another name, unbeknownst to Frater X, Frater Xavier, I just call him Frater X because he's my bro. I've taken some of his courses through another email address. I just didn't want him to know it was me. So yeah, I did that. And you know, before, you know, I've watched all of his stuff online, and you know, Frater Xavier, I dig him. I think a divergence, you say? Well, you know, I'm teaching a witchcraft that recognizes that witchcraft back in the day, even Gardner's day, borrowed a huge amount from ceremonial magic. So there is a huge amount of ceremonial magic as witches borrowed it that I'm using. Okay, you people keep asking questions. Don't ask right now, I'm talking. Ask me in a second. Whatever question catches my eye, I'll try and answer that one. But got a bunch of people in here right now. But Frater X, the systems I use do incorporate a large amount of ceremonial magic. I have been thrilled to see my products in Frater X's videos. Back when he had a lot more videos on YouTube, he wasn't just on Gumroad, but many practitioners, like, I remember every candle I ever made. They're like my special children that I make to go out there in the world and help somebody, you know, with their spell, whatever it fucking is. But everyone's kind of got a character. They're never the same. They're never the same color exactly, anything. And I remember they're my special children. And when I see my special children out there on the internet doing shit, I love that. And early on, when I was getting to know Frater X, he was, you know, bought a lot of stuff from me. He's got a lot of credit at my shop, actually. He could buy a lot more, but he's got his own products too. Seeing my stuff on Frater Xavier's channel really did it for me. Where we converge is very much the demysticism of magic. I don't see magic, even when I'm doing total spiritual shit, even when I'm doing Palo and, you know, dealing with the dead and Gangas and stuff. It's not entirely, the spiritual and the scientific are not devoid in my rationale. They cross paths. It is not a large mystical thing for me. It's very down to earth. It's very grounded in physics and the laws of nature. I think the question was where we diverge. Well, that part's pretty obvious. I just show my face. I very seldom have graphical examples on some of my Gumroad classes. I'm holding up a fucking piece of paper that I wrote on with a magic marker. There's no production value. There's no graphics. There's very little musical stuff. But the big thing, Freighter X or Freighter Xavier never shows his face. I know him. I know his face. And I'll never tell you who his face is. That's his thing. It's his thing. Mystery school. Like, yeah, it totally works. That's just not my style. Not the way it works for me. Not the way it ever worked for my channel. Just like this, it's like you sitting at my table up on the veranda overlooking Hollywood and all the traffic sounds, and we're sitting back having a beer, smoking a bowl, talking about witchcraft. That's me. A lot of times, that's all it is my face. I have very few graphic extras, you know, that I put on. One of the older versions of my old videos, they had a way to put in captions along the videos. I love doing that, writing a little funny thing. The later versions of Windows Media or Movie Maker don't have that. My phone doesn't have that, so I've shied away from that. But it's pretty much just you and me chilling. You and me chilling my way. Uncle Birch, you're a Tata. Well, Uncle Birch, you're a Tata. How do you separate the different beliefs? Now, this is not a thing that I talk about a whole lot on my channel. It's something I've come across. I don't agree with dabbling. I know too many people, you know, they're in hoodoo this week, and they're in Palo next week, and they're in this that week, they're in the other next week. They're getting a Hecate tattoo this week, and they get another tattoo that week. No, in my tradition, have gone as far as anybody can take me. I've been in my parent tradition long enough to where I have no elders. My elders are dead. In my tradition, the high priest of my tradition, in such a situation, gets to decide what elements of that craft are released to the world for its survival. A great amount of authority is attributed to the high priest in that context. So, nothing more for me to do in my tradition except what I create in my tradition. Hence, well, back to the DNA tests. My uncle, I found I had some African blood. I found out I had some African blood after somehow I ended up in a Manonso studying Palo. And the Manonso led me to Candelo. Candelo talked me into going to Lucky Mojo's gathering that they have every year until we had a party with Lucky Mojo. But then I started studying hoodoo and finding out that the craft that I grew up with had a lot of stuff in it that we now know as hoodoo. We didn't know that at the time. And for me as a witch, I need to study everything I know. I need to follow its path, follow its pattern. I need to know where'd that start? How'd it get to me? What is it now? In the middle. That's my witch mind. But Palo. I ended up in Palo because my wife was interested in Palo. I went to a Manonso. I was a very public witch. I am an opinionated motherfucker. And I piss some people off. And I say shit that people don't like. And I don't care. I transform that energy and turn it into fuel. Throw at me all fucking day long. It just makes me stronger. Best thing you could do is ignore me. Because you ain't gonna get nowhere. But Palo addressed a huge witch war that I had found myself in. Not for reasons of my own. I always believed that more witch stores in an area made the community stronger. My competitors did not believe that. Palo gave me war magics and war tendencies to address the situation that I was in even though I'm from a hardcore witchcraft tradition that doesn't follow the Wiccan Rede and all that crap, and my mom taught some really cool hexes, they did not adequately address the situation that I found myself in, and I just kind of went along because my wife was in it and said, whoa. What I found with Palo is the most pagan religion I have ever seen in my entire life of paganism, which is more than a lot of your lives. I've been doing this a very long time, and it's been my sole passion. Palo is more in the dirt, in the mud, and in the very blood than any pagan tradition I've ever been in. Question is, how do I integrate the two? With I am not Wiccan. I don't call myself Wiccan. I see some people asking questions, but I'm still answering this question, so I don't know how this is going to work. I still have Wiccan practice. I have gods and goddesses who I've oaths to, and I will not abandon them, even though I'm not calling myself Wiccan and not sticking to their format anymore. So those, I don't mix those god and goddesses really with that Palo. But what I found with Palo is Palo has some magics, and very few people in Palo know those magics. And I learned a lot of those magics from my friends. I've learned a few from my Tata, and I am a Tata. And my wife is a Yaya, and I don't really talk about that a whole lot. I don't call myself a Tata on Facebook or any of that crap. And I don't teach it on Facebook because I'm Tata or not. I haven't been in it long enough to be teaching anybody shit. So I'm telling you what I think about it. Let's see. It is not just war. Some beautiful things in Palo, but it does go there if you need to go there. Unfortunately, Palo is very male dominated, and maybe that's something that I did not see in my traditions because they've been female dominated my whole life. Palo is very male dominated, and as such there's an element of, and it's Latino and African, so as such there's a huge amount of machismo crap that goes on. Their witch wars are way more than your witch wars, probably. But I've found there's only so much magics. And even in the first Munanso I was in, I saw them working hoodoo magics on their pot. And I asked about that. And they said, like I always say, if you're talking about Palo, if Inkisi says okay, okay, then we don't argue. And if you don't know what that means, you don't know what that means. You could probably Google it in this day and age, but I'm not going to explain what that means. I must just talk to the person that asked the question. Just like, some people have a problem with white people in these African traditions. Well, what I learned, if Inkisi says they can come, they can come. If an Nganga calls them, wants them, they'll be scratched over that Nganga. And they don't care what anybody says. And those people in Palo that want to be bigots, sorry, man. That much about the tradition I understand. You do not get to argue. This is one of those traditions that put absolute faith behind their spirits. And I recognize that. And I practice that. And y'all can say whatever you want to say. I mean, Kisi says. So, if I go to my Lucero, I have Lucero asking Kisi, can I work this witchcraft on your head? And I throw my chumalongos, and they say yes. I'm going to work that witchcraft on the head. And it don't matter if it's European witchcraft or anything else. If Kisi says it's going to accept that, if it'll honor that, that's how I integrate them. Wow. Long answer for a short question. Help, I am draining people and putting other people in trances against my... Wow. Boy, you're a psychic vampire? Okay. Help, I'm draining people and sucking people dry against their will. I think it said something like that. Fluorite. Get yourself some fluorite. Wear it. Wear fluorite. Learn it. Live it. Love it. Wear it. Wear the fluorite. Okay. Did that answer your question? That's a short answer for that question. Let's see. What do we got? What you got? What you got? If you asked a question before, I probably didn't see it, man. They float by. I'm on my phone. Please get an update about the store. Update about the store. Well, we're online. Oh, I think somebody asked. I did see a question earlier. Am I caught up? Yeah. Well, I think I as far as I can tell, I'm about a month behind. We had a problem a few months back. I really think at this point it was a hack, and that happens. Had a real big hit to my web store. It's busier than I can. I do everything, so it's already busier than I could keep up with. But something happened where a bunch of orders, months worth of orders, were lost. I find them in these buffers if I'm searching for that order number, which is required me to put out several announcements, and people contact me in the email. My email's flooded. I got somebody spamming my email too. My email's flooded, so I'm like backlogged on my email. The people are best getting a hold of me through my web store's phone number, which I have somewhere here. And a lot of people are texting me on the web store. You can text me on the web store's phone number. That's getting to me quicker than the email. I have a buttload of voicemails, but text messages through the voicemail I get pretty quick. But it's area code 913-828-2042. That's 913-828-2042. I had to look at that on my own business card. But I am, whoever asked that, I am getting caught up. Oh my God, I've been playing double time. It's complicated because I brew adhering to magical timing. I have a queue built up. It's like first come, first serve, and then we have this fucking thing happen to where it's like, what I've been doing lately is like I'm physically doing like one order number after another and searching it and finding it in these buffers unless somebody contacts me and tells me that their order is behind, and then I get to it. So some shit got fucked up. I had to revamp my entire system, entire new web page. Luckily, where people's credit cards were was on a different server, so it didn't get fucked with. But I pissed somebody off. I pissed a hacker off or something like that. They hacked me, and I'm playing catch up. So that's the update. Well, I guess the update on the store. I mean, the only other update on the store is just like everything's online now. I don't have any inkling to have a brick and mortar. It might be a cool ego boost for some people, but the time sitting around doing nothing just did not behoove me. Just was too much sitting around. And then when I discovered that my family's lifestyle had been coming from the internet for 3 years when I did the math. And I had been using a lot of that money to keep a brick and mortar open that wasn't keeping itself afloat. I was stupid. So I stopped doing that. Yes, I have heard of doing the middle pillar method with the planets instead of the Hebrew gods. Yes, I've heard of that. I've heard a lot of things. I've done something like that. On my Gumroad site, gumroad.com/witchschool, that's WITCHSKEWL. I have a video, I think it's called Where Science and Magic Collide. You who asked that question, I'm not trying to just sell you the class, but based on such a question, it'd behoove you to watch this class. If you're going to do this kind of thing, what I found is that all of the planets have frequencies that have been calculated. all of these frequencies translate to musical notes or harmonics thereof. When doing such planetary magics, chants, that kind of thing, might best be done in that note. Yeah. All right. So look, we're like an hour, but look, let me tell you what, I must pee. Okay. So there's a lot of people in here. I don't want to just stop. So I'm gonna give you a minute to collect your thoughts. I'll be right back. Well, doesn't seem like we lost anybody on the way. All right. I didn't want to leave you all with all these people. It's weird how the church say. Somebody's talking about the Church of Satan. Yeah, the original Church of Satan had a lot of magical stuff. I don't see that much. I don't know what else to say about that comment. Let's see. All right, what you got? What you got? Got a question? Let's see. Man. Never gone live on a Sunday before. Look at all you people. You'll do Facebook Live next time. But yeah, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me at Uncle Birch. You can find me at Michael Carell too. But if we don't have enough mutual friends, I tend not to accept friend requests to that page unless you send me a message telling me you know me from here or something like that. A lot of Facebook pages. But then there's Unity of Wicca and Witchcraft. Emerald City Mystic. Yes, you have gotten products from me. I remember your name. I don't remember all people's names, but yeah, I remember Emerald City Mystic. Good. I'm glad you got your stuff because I remember one of yours was taking a while. But yeah, I'm one guy. I don't trust people to work my shop. I definitely don't trust anybody making the brews. So I do everything myself. Thoughts on numbers, synchronization, and divination. Well, numbers. There's a huge amount of numbers. You know, I've been studying these other traditions. You know, I find a lot of ideas that integrate into the different traditions. And sometimes, I've talked about this recently with my hoodoo folk. My hoodoo friends, you know, I have to really choose my words carefully, because one day on a Candelo's Corner show, I said, after having too many drinks, I think it was like the last Candelo's Corner show that was going to happen, and I was kind of, it was emotional. I love that show, and Candelo's my bro, and so I had a few drinks, and it kind of blurted out, all magical systems that I know are following the same laws. And when asked what those laws were, I said hermetics. Now, given more time, I say it in a way that causes a little less controversy. Hermes did not originate these laws. Hermes wrote them down when many other cultures weren't writing shit down. Yes, the African cultures had magics at that time, practicing those things. They did not write shit down. Somebody just asked about binding a psychic attacker. Well, again, I saved myself so much time by saying this. You go to my channel, which you're on right now, and look for my binding spell. I think where we bound a George W. Bush voodoo doll in that video. I think it's funny as fuck, but it's not just a joke. That binding spell right there is way better than the binding spell that everybody's putting on Trump. That was a stupid binding spell. I totally agree with doing shit to Trump, but that particular Trump binding spell that they came up with is weak as hell. Oh, that's annoying. Stop banging against that thing. Oh, thank you to, God, I missed your name. But somebody saying thank you. They learned a lot from me. Wow. So this is what happens if I go on for over an hour on a Sunday. Whew. All right. Not bad. Not shabby. Let's see. I think I've answered the questions that I've seen. Let's see. I should write books. I'm working on that. The first book. I've got it pretty much written in my head. The Art of Magical Warfare. In the format of The Art of War. And I'll be submitting that to a publisher soon. I already said it at the beginning of the video. I'm not going to say it again because you don't talk about stuff you're going to manifest that much. But I'm working on that. I have another book concept out there. I don't know. Maybe tell me what you think. Another book concept I've been working on. My race is which. Now, premise around that book, and for me, it's always been I just need a premise. Back when I was a protest songwriter, I just needed a slogan. Like somebody once said, "Masturbate and smash the state." I turned that into a song, like 10 minutes. And fucking people are still playing that song somewhere to this day at some fucking rally fucking somewhere. That's all I needed. I just need the concept, roll with the fucking concept. But we can see it very much in ancient Greece and cultures even beyond that. There is a belief that, let's go to Greece, the Titans. The Titans interacting with humans, having sex with humans. Actually, having sex with humans, what bred the Titans, and then what came, the offspring of the Titans was, and other things. Let me write the fucking book first, but the vague idea. The offspring of the Titans were the races that we would now call witches. And in many of the ancient cultures, that belief kept on from beyond ancient Greece. A lot of the persecutions, a lot of the war against witches, all of that stuff was all genocide. And I'm not going to, go back to the, the burning times and you know, the inaccurate figures we have for the burning times, that kind of thing. Um, but there was a belief in many ancient civilizations that they were trying to wipe out a race that had magic when the rest of the planet did not. To wipe out a race because they had an advantage over the common person. Now, over time, we've seen, all witches everywhere. They've been more than happy to teach everybody everything, help everybody everywhere. But this was an ancient belief prevalent in many, many cultures. And that other book concept that I have focuses on that. Somebody asked me earlier. It's like I don't know about my family. In my Italian family and in my Irish family, while researching the family tree, there are many blank spots. And I was always taught that that's how you find the witches in your family tree. Look for the blank spots. And if you're Catholic, they just removed you. They excommunicated you. Oh. I thought I saw a question and it faded. God. All right, I'll try and keep an eye out for the questions. I think I was answering something there. Oh my God, that's not a question. I can't type. Hello, Ghost Queen Uncle. Ghost Queen Uncle, hiya. Whoa, what was that? Oh, that's a pipe. I thought it was a little icon floating across the screen. It was the edge of the pipe. All right, let's see. I'm in California. Fuck y'all. My ancestry is crazy. Yes, my ancestry is crazy. After they redid the algorithm for the DNA test, I went and re-looked at my DNA test, and there's just fucking nowhere that I'm not from except America. So I'm not Native American. And I'm everything else. I'm a mutt. I'm a fucking mutt. And I knew I was a mutt, but goddamn. Now with the new algorithm, I'm such a fucking mutt. Oh my God. So I ain't culturally appropriate shit. And I only thought I had 7% sub-Saharan African. No. My new DNA test is like, I'm all around Africa. A bunch of places in Africa. Let's see. Careful you don't get deported. Oh, I worry more about that, in Trump land, about my wife. My wife is a political refugee. She's Russian. She's Russian, and her family is partially Jewish. The only reason the Russians were allowed to leave Russia in the 70s was if they were rich or they were Jewish. Because they were so persecuted, if they were Jewish, they had to fucking leave. She ends up here. I know my wife because of anti-Semitism. And if it was not for anti-Semitism, we would have never met. That's twisted. But, in this day and age, immigrants like her still getting deported. I worry about that. Ruthenia. Ruthenia doesn't exist anymore. I don't even know where that is, but yeah, must not exist anymore. Shit. All right, so ask Uncle Birch. Anybody got anything else? What do you think about using the Kabbalistic rose cross for sigil? The rose cross, I guess you're talking about like the Golden Dawn cross, because that's the rose cross. I was taught the Kabbalistic cross, not necessarily, it's not necessarily the Kabbalistic rose cross, but the way that you did it, Ate Makuth, Vegebura, Vegedula, Leolam, Amen. In the Leolam, Amen, you were visualizing a rose in your heart chakra. So, must have corresponded to that. But that was a standard practice in the circle. My tradition, like Gardner and many people, they borrowed liberally from the ceremonial magicians. There seems to have been a huge amount of Western ceremonial magic that was not disrupted during the times of persecution and the burning times and that kind of stuff. The books stayed intact, so witches used them. Circle of the Hebrew letters. Yeah. I can even repeat that question really quickly, so I can't answer it. But yes, you that just said that, yeah. You all can look back at what they just said, but yeah, I can argue with that. Does fasting have a magical effect? Yeah, it does. There's a lot of our body, when we're digesting, there's a lot of the energy of our body utilized in that digesting. So that's the idea of ritual of fasting. But you got to be careful not get your blood sugar messed up. Oh, there's somebody that enjoyed their order in my videos. Okay, cool. You got your stuff. Yay. Okay. Anytime I hear finally somebody got their stuff, I'm happy. Let's see. What the fuck was I answering? I don't even remember now. So much stuff. What are we at? 75 minutes? All right, I'll shoot for 2 hours because I've never done that before. Let's see. Emerald City still telling you. You learned a lot from him. Thank you. Who is? I don't know who that is. Is there a DNA marker for being a witch or the Titans? I hope not. Because if they find it, I don't know where you are, where you live. I'm in America, and despite my warnings and the shit I caught, Republicans / the Christian Taliban are in power, and it's scary fucking times. And I've said it, and I'll say it again. I'm gonna keep saying it so you know that I predicted it first. As soon as they said that they could not make a cake for a gay couple because of their sincere religious belief against it, we are a stone's throw away from it being okay for somebody to say, it's against my sincere religious belief to suffer a witch to live. It's in their fucking book. It'll fucking happen. We let it go way too far, man. That's all I'm saying on that. What you got? What do we have? What kind of questions do we have? Too true. Thank you. Thank you, Jer Boy Me. Wow. Damn, a lot of people. There's probably, shit. I forgot who asked that, but astrological signs for a witch, there probably is, but some witches are born, and some witches wake up. Wicca always said, we don't recruit. People just find their way home. And that I still hold to this day. Or some people just wake up. I woke up at 9. I didn't know what I woke up to until I was 13. But the awakening I had when I was 9 years old totally played into what I finally figured out when I was 13. I was just this way. Some people become this way. Nature, nurture, I don't know what it is, man. There may be some genetics. There may be something in our genes. But really, I've kind of thrown that out in recent years. I always talk about the study that I saw where they were studying the genetic memory in ants. And what they found was in this study, and somebody's going to ask me to post the study now, that when they were studying these ants had a genetic memory within all of their species, or all of their subspecies of ants, that was the genetic memory of ants. Not so, not just red ants, not just black ants, not blue ants, whatever ants they got. Those ants had the genetic memory of all species of ants within them, within that subspecies of ants. That fucks up a lot of shit. Let you think on that. God, those questions, they fade before I can read them. Let's see. Oh, God. Right. Hopefully they'll ask it again. There was a good question in there about the heretic, which is, but it faded quicker than I can read it. I'm sorry. I was looking. All right. Well, whoever gets the next question in, I guess that's the one I'm answering. Damn. 80 minutes. Got to do at least 90. Just see. Wow. It was kind of how to do a spell to connect with their ancestors. All right, well, even though I said I don't do this, I'll do this. You who asked that question, you know the context of the question. I can't, rattle it all off right now, because somebody said I can scroll back, but I don't see that option on my phone. You need a table with a white cloth and a glass of water, like a wine glass. It's the best, that kind of thing. That's how to start communicating with your ancestors. It can be that simple. People can have, much more things. Like, you got pictures of your ancestors, things that your ancestors touched or left to you. You can put them on that altar too. But many traditions have just this, a glass of water to attract the spirits. And some people read psalms to this. There's, many ways of doing this. But they just called to their ancestors to come to that glass of water. And that glass of water is all you need. There's lots of things you could do, incense and all kinds of things. But that glass of water is really all you need to start to communicate with your ancestors. I always recommend in this kind of thing, making an incense, whatever incense you make, put some rosemary in the incense. The smell of the rosemary smoke is going to help you remember it. Rosemary for remembrance can't be overlooked. Such great shit. Rosemary all the time if you want to remember it. So put it in an incense, or even, you can put fresh rosemary on a charcoal. Great smelling stuff. All right, so I'll see if I have one more question. I hear somebody calling me, so. How do you know spells or rituals won't backfire? Well, that's going to be the last question I answer, and I'm going to answer it well. So let me light up. Helps me talk. How do you know your spells won't backfire? Well, you don't know. You can know what you can know. First thing you want to know, are you just and are you right? Is this right and just, this thing you do? I'm not going to judge that. It's for you. If those are yes, then there's less resistance. In traditions that are not Wicca, including, many forms of witchcraft, definitely hoodoo, see it in Palo, I cannot speak for Ocha, but I have been a support crew, or on a support crew for a large Ocha ritual, because my Tata is also Ocha. And they wanted us to join Ocha too, but just didn't want to go there yet. Not willing to make that commitment. Don't have a year to wear white, that kind of thing. But I learned some things, and I saw that there too. Cleansing. There are several things. Florida water, even holy water, which, we just learned. Holy water is the exact way that we learn in British traditional witchcraft systems, how to make holy water. I conjure thee, O creature of salt, thou being free from all malignancy and hindrances. That thing, all that thing, that comes from the Keys of Solomon, and is the traditional method to create holy water in the Catholic Church to this day. So we do that kind of thing. A white bath comes up in many of the African traditions. I've seen it in Palo, I've seen it in Hoodoo, I've seen it in Ocha. And you can look up white bath. You can Google that. There are recipes. But in other traditions, other than Wicca, when you throw, you cleanse after throwing. And that may be the thing that undoes your Wiccan reads, your threefold laws, whatever you got. Seems to. Other people, they don't play that. They're going to throw anyway. It's like, all right, I'm going to throw. I'm going to cleanse. Makes sense. If stuff's going to be coming back to you, Or you could study, you can go to Uncle Birch's Gumroad channel, gumroad.com/witch school, and learn feeding on your enemies. If you learn feeding on your enemies, then anything coming back at you can be turned into fuel to fuel your magic, to fuel yourself, to fuel your life. There are so many ways. And back in the day, that's what our ancestors called them. Ways. The ways. Some of the older books, you'll find the word ways. That's what it meant. We're at 88 minutes. Well, I thank you for joining me. I'll go through the comments and see if I can answer questions that I missed on the broadcast. But I should go do some stuff now. Okay. So should you. We've been here a long time. Thanks for joining me on Ask Uncle Birch on a Sunday, right after church.